Now we're going to introduce our first keynote speaker, who is Frederic Vacher, from the head of innovation, who is the head of innovation at Dassault Systèmes in France. He is a mechanical engineer by training, and Frederic has been in the forefront of technology innovations, creating one of actually the first 3D websites back in '95. In 2015, he started the 3D Experience Lab in France, focusing on innovations that has a positive impact on society. Frederic just came back from the CES conference in Las Vegas, where they also brought a Furhat robot with them. Please, thank you for joining us, Frederic.
Thank you, Summer, also for the invitation. So maybe sharing a bit of what Dassault Systèmes is doing. As you know, we were a startup 40 years ago on the virtual world for real life. This is what we do from the beginning. We help our users, mostly industrials, to virtualize in 3D their ID. It started in the 80s with designing in 3D a part. And at that time already, the generative was there, because if you are willing to have the drafting and the drawing of the part, it was generated from the 3D model. That was the master. Then came in the 80s the digital mock-up journey. And this is with this illustration with Boeing, with the 777. That was the first plane fully assembled in 3D as a digital mock-up. So we are talking about millions of parts that were designed, engineered in the virtual world. And from digital mockup came the product lifecycle management. So not only the product, complex product, but all its processes, factories, and platforms. And it really then tied with robotics at that time, and this is where we are coming from, industry robots, to produce those parts. And then came the phase of the experience economy, whereby the product is living within an environment. So as you know, most of the products are smart products. They are connected to the world within a car, now connected with its environment to drive autonomously, or even your any type of product now is connected to the environment. So it leads that we had to invest in virtualizing the environment on the world, cities, ground, on the ground. So all this in virtual worlds. Then came the phase of human modeling, and this is maybe not known, but at Dassault Systèmes, we virtualize organs, molecules. On the life science, by the way, is our second biggest market. So applying what we have done in the industries, it means the full life cycle from the ID, design, simulation to production and to go to market, but for a molecule, for drug, for vaccines, up to clinical trials. And now we are at the phase to help all our clients, industrials, to transform themselves. As you understand around you, our planet is limited, our resources are limited, and all the industries needs to demonstrate that they can change their mindset. In the past, we are driven by economy, by performances, by design, by engineering. So this is where our clients were challenging us. Now we want to help them to reduce their impact, to develop sustainable products that will minimize their impact all along their life cycle, which is very important. So this is what Dassault Systèmes is. And we are worldwide leader. We cover 11 industries in 140 countries. And as it has been mentioned, I created the 3D Experience Lab initiative 7 years ago. The 3D Experience Lab initiative is to accelerate startups, projects that will strongly impact the society, that will bring solutions in front of our big challenges. So we monitor the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations in order to identify potential early stage projects, and we help them to succeed. So not only to design and engineer, but to industrialize their product, to connect with the industries, to go abroad, to exhibit at CES, for instance, or in any other trade shows. As you can see in my in my tablet, I'm live on the website. We accelerate many projects on many fronts, whether they are on the medical sector, like cancer, or new space, new materials, or nuclear fusion, for instance. We are on many fronts with a huge ecosystem of startups. And with our labs, we have 4 main hubs in Paris, where I am, in Boston, in Munich, and in India, to create the ecosystem around and to help those small companies to succeed. So in picture, what it is, if you looked at my video, this is more or less what we have done in the past with all the big industrials, plane cars, high-tech equipments, whatever you are making has to be produced and developed within a virtual world to program those assembly lines, to program those robots. So we know the robotic world from the beginning. They are all, most of them are our clients, to not only design and engineer their robots, so they use our software, like Furhat is using SolidWorks, but also Katia, but they are also partners because our software generates the code for those robots to program those robots. So for instance, you have a big car manufacturers like BMW or Audi or Renault or PSA or whoever, they are all clients. They need to program those robots, and the programmation of the robots, as you understand, is all those programations are generated. They are generated from the 3D shape so that the code that the robot will digest is automatically generated. This is how it works in all industries. We accelerate some projects that are quite interesting. If you look at this example, this is a project coming from Germany. They are doing a robotic laundry. So now we're talking about soft materials, and you see the real and the virtual. So that's an important point, as I was mentioning in the introduction. All we do is virtual, but which is physically conform to the real world. If I run again, it was very quick. You see the virtual world with the virtual robot, but you have the exact same behavior in the real life. Here, the challenge is obviously to manage soft materials, which is not that easy in the industry to automate a laundry process. We accelerate many projects. Also for education, we have a community of people working on designing and engineering the R2, Open R2 project from Star Wars, you know, this robot. This is the design here of this robot that probably you don't know, but has never been manufactured. At the really beginning, it was a small guy in a costume. Now it's special effects. They are toys, but the real robot has never been engineered. And the team worked in a collective intelligence way, which is quite innovative. Passionate people are working together on our online platform to design and manufacture each part of this robot and to give life to this robot. So it's a kind of educational project to connect young and senior generations. It's a new way to learn, especially for younger generations. You know, they are now not very keen to enter into technical or scientific curricula, engineering curricula, which is a pain, as it's very interesting. So it's a way to interest them and to inspire them. We worked a lot on the life science and medical sector. If you looked at this robot, it is a radiotherapy robot. This is the company doing this. By the way, it's one of the latest robots, so it's very, very precise, and it can treat a tumor at less than 2 millimeters from your eyes without hurting your eyes. So it's a advanced technology from a company called Accuray. And what we have done with them is not only they are using our software to design and engineer this robot, but they are using our platform to experience the robot in a virtual room. The objective is to prepare the patient, to distress the patient so that when the patient is having the real treatment, he is not afraid. So he don't move. Because when you treat a tumor at less than 2 millimeters, you need to be very calm to avoid any movement. So here you see the virtual room, operating room, with the virtual robot, the virtual twin of the robot, with the protocol. And in virtual reality, the patient is not only discovering the room, all the equipment, and can ask any questions, but also is lying on the bed and he can observe around him the treatment like if it was real, including the sounds, which can be very threatening. So we are under clinical trial on this project, done with Hartmann, which is the biggest European private center for radiotherapy, and we expect a lot of improvement. As you mentioned, we are coming back from CES. And at CES, we had two main booths on the main hall, on a booth with Business France in Eureka Park, the place for startups. And the Frederic Vacher lab was there, and we decided to use Furhat to interact with people. And I don't know if you get the sound here. The funny thing is it worked pretty well. By the way, we're amazed to see the reaction of people in front of Furhat. The first idea was, to have an hostess in the front of the booth to welcome people. But because of generative AI, people could entertain a real conversation. And this is really what is making the difference. We were surprised that working in CES, a very noisy environment, low quality Wi-Fi, it worked pretty well. And people could, in any languages, you could hear in Spanish, in French, in German, in English, interacted very well. So what we did is obviously we trained the LLM on our particular domain so that we were guaranteed that the answer were obviously a good answer. We trained the robot on the different startups who were exhibiting, so he could have the proper answer. We trained him, obviously, on what Dassault Systèmes on the Frederic Vacher lab is doing, but it was also an open discussion. People were asking the weather or whatever, and thanks to generative AI, he was able to answer. And this is really a big difference in social robotics, because it's good to discuss with a robot with some pre-defined script. It's better if you can really have a conversation like with a real person. Obviously, this was for fun, attracting people and answering questions. And we observed that it was very interesting. So we will have in our labs, we'll use Furhat to answer questions where we are not here. So it's it should work pretty well. So it will improve our performances and automate, our, in fact, visit process in a way. We are having a lot of visitors. And for you to know, in my labs, last year, I got 5,000 visitors physically. So we have someone to host them and to explain them what we do, to show them what we do. Furhat could make the job as now the process of the visit is quite obvious. In the future, I really believe that this type of robot could bring value, especially in the medical sector, as a companion at the hospital, for instance, to discuss with children. We, by the way, accelerated a project for children, a robot. So autism children could interact with the robot and discuss with the.
We are back with Frederic, who has an internet connection again. So I think we'll go back to the Q&A that we kind of missed. And maybe you want to finish off with a few words before we go to the Q&A.
I was about to conclude, and for us, this experience was very interesting, globally speaking. And I believe the future is to verticalize, those training in terms of large language model, as it will definitely behave on a particular domain. Is it a legal discussion? Is it a psychology discussion? Is it a medical discussion? If the robot is trained on the proper data, then it would give the proper answer. The robot is never inventing anything. Even ChatGPT is just, rephrasing, taking and synthesizing data that he was trained on. And I believe the future, especially on the medical sector, it would really help. For Dassault Systèmes, always, the robots are here to help human. The virtual world, the simulation, the algorithm are here to enhance the performance of human, never replacing him. I believe it is the same for those social robots. It will have a lot of benefits, helping, automating. But what we need to make sure is to train those language models on the proper data set, taking into account the property, intellectual property, and this is the New York Times issue on for everyone, you know, especially in the image processing and the video processing. We are just at the beginning of many issues because those models have not been trained on proper data. So if you take those models, you train them on proper data, I think we are about to get a lot of values.
Perfect.
In terms of sectors, I was a lot talking about medical, but we tried a lot social robotics, especially, you know, this company Aldebaran, you know, doing Piper. I think the head of Piper is there. In Japan, is very famous. You know, they were willing to have the robot inviting you to the shop. Today, it's more human. It didn't work pretty well actually because I think this discussion was not there. I think it would come back on this type of usage to have a hostess to welcome you and to answer all your needs. For administration, for country administration, it will help a lot to answer complaints and so on. So there are a lot of usage. And after, what type? How should it take place? You know, is it a physical robot? Is it a virtual avatar? Is it just a discussion?
Going back to the like you've been working a lot with 3D graphics and how robots are working in an augmented or totally virtual environment. When moving out from this more secure environment when you control everything and going to the social environment, we see a lot of failures and. In general, with these kind of companies, you hear a lot of success stories. Would you like to share one of your like not successful projects and how to move forward from that? We have a lot of young people in the audience.
Not successful project. We are close to many robotic companies. So maybe for me, the most impressive in terms of technology are the Boston Dynamics guys, you know, having, you know, this spot robot to walk, you know, almost like a dog. As a next step, I don't know if you know this startup called Vandercraft to create an exoskeleton so that paraplegic, so physical handicapped people could walk again. It would bring probably a lot of value. And we are not yet there, but almost. And this type of robotics is bringing a lot of value. In terms of failure, a lot of robotic companies tried to create, you know, humanoids. And the main failure was what for? You know, it's good to have a robot, even if it's impressive in terms of technology and so on. But the question is what you will do with that, because it should help, you know, certain usage. And I remember, you know, during Fukushima in Japan, so I lived in Japan for many years. This is a company, they like robots, they produce a lot of robots, you know, at Honda, Toyota, and many other startups are working on robotics. When Fukushima accident was there, they had no robot to intervene, to send in the dangerous zone in order to avoid sending human. And that was a shame. I was thinking, you know, how such a robotic country could not, you know, have robots to really perform real tasks. And I think this is where we need to focus on. It's the robots are here to bring a service, to enhance the performance, manufacturing performances, or helping you to take big loads without hurting your back. This is really the key. And this is the same for social robotics. It's good to have a social robot, but what for? It has really to bring value.
Yeah, exactly. And lastly, I just wanted to ask you, with both in academia and in companies right now, it's very difficult to find the right talent. It's really becoming a more big challenge with people actually working in AI and are good programmers. How are you working with that at the lab?
With Dassault Systèmes, we are 25,000 people, and we have most of them are engineers, they are developers. They obviously develop a lot of algorithms. They work on data. They work on AI. And usually they have a mixed background, computer science and an industry science. So if we could have a doctor plus a developer or someone working in the aerospace. So he must, usually our profile are having the two type of competencies. And I think it's very important to understand the needs. Having someone with 100% developer is good, but it's limited to really bring value to a particular domain.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing.
A lot of recruit people. We recruit a lot in Europe, but also in the US, in India, in many countries, because we have a real purpose as a company, providing virtual world for real world and to create a better world. So we are not in the metaverse type of parallel world. we are building a virtual world to really help and to bring solutions for a better future. So it helps to attract talent, definitely.
Nice. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for coming back for the Q&A.
Thank you. And sorry for this break.
No problem.